want to make that announcement because it ties into what we were doing here, not his bullshit.
Yeah, in fact, I think the title of the room does more to illustrate the point that we were trying to make here than anything that anybody said on the stage. The truth of the matter is there, and I'm somebody that believes in free speech. I wouldn't write a letter to Clubhouse and say, hey, can you disallow them to do that? I'm just saying that I don't want that in my space. And then Sarah, who's somebody that frequents this space, this is how it all began, was me reaching out to her and just telling her it was a bad look. And rather than her, acknowledging that, yeah, you're probably right, it's a bad look, what she did was double down and said that she thought it was funny. And so that's how her and I argument became public, was that I tried, like some people said, hey, why does this have to be content? I tried addressing this privately. She was the one that brought it into public. I sent her a private message, which, if she were here to consent, I would read it to you or post it for you. It was just simply telling her that I thought it was a bad look. And again, she's free to do it. I'm not going to, say otherwise, but I think that intentionality matters, and creating a space that allows for that, I think, shows an intention of something that I don't want to be a part of. And so I look at, if you think about it, that space now has Pepe as a moderator. So they went from allowing Pepe to say it to saying, hey, we want Pepe to lead the charge here. So if you want to think of this as battle lines being drawn, you have a mature conversation happening in one room, and you have people that quite literally want to allow all of the trash to come in and congregate.
Well, I'll say this. First off, we all know him is coming back in here. Because, he thinks the whole app is about him. But if you notice in the dialogue I had with him, he said, well, you're triggered. I wasn't the one making threats. I wasn't calling him names. I was just, hey, dude, relax, take a breath.
The master
The conversation's not about you.
Let me address Alan Dean. Alan Dean, who also loves those the use of the N-word in those rooms. He says, so Roger, you decided that Sarah needed your advice, and when she didn't follow your advice private, you felt to make the discussion public. No, quite the contrary. I approached her privately, and then she brought it up publicly in a room.
So I was texting to Victoria that she gets pretty privileged. That's why I try to be nice to her. Because, she's gorgeous, but she's insane. But anyway, listen, the game is going to come back in here. I guarantee you, within 24 hours, he apologizes to me. And I don't care. Listen, one of the greatest lessons I learned on this app, Mojo, was I was speaking to a friend who was a kind of an influence on this app. And he left this app for a while, and he said to me, he said, bro, I went into a swimming pool for the first time in 2 years. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm not wasting my time in Clubhouse anymore. And that shit hit me. And since then, I've been on 4 vacations. I'm on one right now. As we speak, I'm in Texas. So people need to get outside, get back to their lives, and understand Clubhouse is not real.
I agree. I took 6 months off of this app, and it was glorious. And Dr. Jordan, who's unmuted to say something, he's the reason. Blame him that I'm back on the app. I had a near-death experience in his automobile, and we got to talking about the app, and here I am. So, Dr. Jordan, go ahead and whatever you...
I was going to ask JB if the public figure or influencer that he was talking about was me. I mean, I don't mind if you use my name. It's absolutely fine.
I already said I love Dr. Jordan, and as I've gotten to know you over the years, man, I got a lot more respect and love for you, man.
I think the whole world is totally missing out. This fucking app is priceless to me. Like, I could be doing other things, but I love you guys, and like, I think that this app is incredible, and I almost don't want to share it with the world because the rest of the world doesn't deserve to be on it.
Well, Jordan, let me just say this real quick, man. See, like you
every week.
We do, but let me say this. You and I have built a rapport and a relationship over years, right? We've spoken offline. Same thing with Mojo, same thing with Rohan, and some other people, Adams, right? Nye, I love Nye, I think she's amazing. But we've cultivated legit friendships, right? somebody like Sarah who just got on the app and she's in Mojo's space for 2 months, automatically, well, I thought you were my friend, Mojo. I thought you were going to protect me at every beck and call. Lady, it takes years to build friendships, relationships, rapport.
And to your point, I mean, these are real friendships. Not only that, but they're deeper friendships than we have with many people because we're candid. I mean, to find a comparable relationship with my friends in real life, I would have to go on vacation with them for extended periods or talk on the phone with them at length. Like, I don't know that. I don't talk. Your friends, your closest friends are the ones who you are talking to day to day, whether you want them to be or not, right? And like, we know how people are feeling. We know what's going on in their lives because we're communicating. And I think that I think using the term in real life versus on Clubhouse is a misnomer. It's in person versus on app. And Roger still likes me even after meeting me in person. So, I mean, there's that.
Well, that's a little still touch and go. I heard about your driving experience.
I will say, if anybody ever gets a chance to meet Dr. Jordan in person, you should do it. When you see the neuroticism on this app, just multiply that by a factor of 10. But then once you move past that, he's incredible. I think the experience I had hanging out with Dr. Jordan and with Uncle Steve, it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Uncle Steve welcomed us into his home and was playing like oldies rock and roll, and we just sat there and we bullshitted for hours. And then Dr. Jordan and I hit the town, and and then after the near-death experience, we got to break bread together and laugh and talk. And it was Dr. Jordan that convinced me to come back to the app. So,
how many packs of smokes did Uncle Steve go to?
I'm going to tell you, he is such a polite guy. He even asked us permission as guests in his home. He wanted to go outside to smoke a cigarette. We're like, dude, it's your house. Go ahead, do your thing. So it was great. I will say this. I'll say the same kind words to Uncle Steve. I thought meeting him in person. He's these two guys are exactly what you would expect to meet. When you hear them on the app, they're exactly what you would expect in real life.
Yeah, Uncle Steve is, his hospitality, his etiquette is really unmatched. Like, he was, like, really concerned about, like, if we started to interrupt or respond to something, he would, like, quiet down. Like, he should run the hospitality school at Cornell University, like that college. Like, he's very, very attuned to that. I was super impressed.
Yeah,
like Roger, like
there was this politeness where, you know how like on this app, we start to interject before somebody, finish what they were saying. It's almost like he has this like mute button for himself where he's like, oh no, go ahead and finish. Like he always was very gracious of like, he wanted to hear what other people had to say before he spoke. And it was very interesting. But nothing but the best things to say.
Mojo, let me just say this, man. I had kind of the same exact experience you described with El Normo and Marvin. I've met probably a couple hundred people off this app, and my favorite meetup ever was with El Normo. He's exactly the same person in real life, except he's probably like 6'5". You don't realize how big this dude is. He's a big dude. He's not people have to write him. I'm laughing. I'm like, dude, if you saw him face to face, you would never say 90% of the things you say. But Norm, you're gonna sit down and have lunch. He's gonna treat you like he's a Jewish father, and you're definitely gonna have a good time and be engaged. Norm, I love you, Norm.
Nice. It is so nice, Steve. I certainly did my best.
But you keep muting yourself. You've been on this app 12 years.
And I think he's got that glitch.
No, you may have to leave and come back. I tell you what, I met him. Marvin is exactly the same.
Same level of exaggerations.
Yeah. But you know what? He's not a big guy. I thought he was going to be like this really big dude. He's not. Norm, on the other hand, is like 6 something, big dude, and you know he can scrap. What's up?
I feel the same way about you. Plus, you turn.
You gotta have to leave the app and come back.
That cut off at exactly the wrong.
Right?
Well, I turned them on to this incredible pizzeria in Brooklyn. It's so good that Norm went back like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. Agent, who's on stage, I invited him to the pizzeria. I didn't get to meet him because I had food poisoning that day, unfortunately. But him and Norm went to that pizzeria, and Agent said it was fantastic.
It was great. Yeah, I look forward to meeting you in person next time.
Absolutely. Norm, can you try your mic now?
Yeah, how's it now? Better?
Much better. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I closed the app. I think the app is getting sick of me talking so much. It's just like automatically muting. Maybe they're like, I have a limit of how many words I can use, you know? They're just cutting me off.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How many times have you been back to Spumoni Garden since you went there?
Oh, at least 20.
Oh, wow.
And I can't believe I call myself a New Yorker and I've never been to L&B Spumoni Gardens. It's just amazing. And then my kid, you know, is having his friends over. Say, okay, I'm now going to get you the best pizza. They deliver, by the way. I'm going to get you the best pizza on the planet that you've ever had in your life. And they just went nuts for it.
Well, I tell you what, when Mojo finally gets his ass over to New York, and Jordan and Rohan up here comes to America, I'm definitely taking a Spumoni.
Yeah, we got to do it.
I'm honored for everyone in the room. I was there. Now Norm's been 20 times. It was just me and Norm the first time that both of us were there. That's very cool, Norm. And thanks for we were supposed to have JB there, but he got sick that day. But yeah.
I tell you what, listen, Norm, when Mojo comes to New York, I'm taking him to Randazzo's Clam Bar in Sheepshead Bay. Best clams in the world. And I'm going to take him to Spumoni Gardens. He's never going to want to leave me.
That's true. He won't even make any of those odd noises he makes about Mexican food in New York. Sorry, I'm just teasing.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys have Mexican food?
We have some from the province of Puebla. They actually call New York Puebla, York, and it's actually in food trucks. That's like the secret good Mexican food in New York, and it's really pretty good. It is very competitive. I'm sure it does not compare to anything that you consider good Mexican food. I don't know if we can't get the right chilies or something. I mean,
Norm, when I was in California, we used to get better Mexican food than Mexico. And the thing that I would ask you to think about is like, can you get a bagel outside of New York City as good as the bagels that you have in?
No, you just can't. I don't know why, but you can't.
Same thing.
It's the water.
Well, let me ask the question though. Like, if I were to go, like, I don't know, 2 miles from here in the valley in Los Angeles, in San Fernando Valley, and I go in, I'll find these Mexican restaurants all over, like scattered throughout Van Nuys, and isn't New York have all these Mexican like grocery stores, but not necessarily a Little Mexico version?
They're called bodegas.
Yeah, we have them, but it just doesn't measure up to. I mean, the food in California is just so fresh, and it just tastes so alive, and it's like you just go to some guy with a grill out on the street in say San Diego. You know, they used to go to Silicon Valley a lot, and it's just the most delicious thing. It's like, how are you doing this? With one exception, my friend married a Mexican woman. When I went to their house, and it's like, you want to eat? It's like, well, I don't know. But they just like whip something up in her kitchen. And it was like one of the most delicious meals I ever had. Out of nothing. They just pulled things out of the fridge and pulled them together. So I think the ingredient might be love and care, and maybe she knew where to get the good ingredients, but it was really remarkable. You're reminding me I want to go back there and let them offer me dinner again. It wasn't even stuff I'd ever seen on a menu, you know? She's from a different part of Mexico. I'm sure there are many cuisines in Mexico, by the way.
Yes, there are. You know what I hate is Tex-Mex.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in Texas right now, and I have to tell you, this is probably my 1000th time in Texas. I've never had good Mexican food here. I had better Mexican food in New York City.
You know, we've had this conversation about. I don't want to drift too much here, but we had these conversations about like Fridays and Chili's and these kind of cheesy Americanized restaurants. But I used to love Fridays, quite frankly. I thought it was awesome. I don't have any here, and Tony Roma's isn't around anymore in L.A.
Well, Fridays closed a lot of stores nationwide. I know they closed a bunch in Brooklyn. They were having financial problems. Fridays, who remembers Beefsteak Charlie's, Tony Roma's, all of them.
There's the best chain pizza place that I've ever seen is Amici's. I don't know if you guys have ever had Amici's pizza.
Yeah, it's really good.
But Amici's will try to emulate the best of each of the types of pizza that you can get. And I will say that the more that I've been trying different things, I'm now a big fan of Detroit style pizza. I think you don't need a bunch of slices. You want one slice of Detroit pizza is all you fucking need. Again, respectfully, I've never tried the pizza in New York, but I will say that trying New York style pizza elsewhere, it's probably one of my least favorites. I think Chicago's overrated too. New Haven pizza, which with the clams and the sauce, I think that's really fucking good. And I think Detroit style pizza is really good as well.
I promise you, when you come to New York and I take you to Spumoni Gardens, you will definitely change your mind about New York pizza.
Okay.
Don't start them at the top. You don't start them there because then you won't be able to eat any other pizza. He's only going to want to go there.
That's
You give him a few different opportunities first. You know, there are a couple of other good places.
Why don't we do this?
Yeah.
Why don't we grab a slice from 3 of the top pizza places, and then we'll go and we'll sit down. We'll do a clubhouse room, and we'll sit and then we'll just kind of bite into each of them, and we'll discuss the flavors.
That's a great idea.
I can make this trip happen end of August if you guys are.
Oh, I'm up for it, and I know I have 2 places I can recommend. I don't know about Norm.
I got some. I'm just thinking, I think DeFara's, it may still be open, but it's not the same DeFara's because I think the guy finally retired at the age of 90 or something. And Totono's, I think, is closed. Fortunately, I got to hit both. Is Totono's closed? Do you know? Should we look it
No,
up?
so Totono's is open, but they only open 2 days a week. But I'll tell you what, there's a place called Lucia on Avenue X, Norm. It was rated it was rated by the New York Times as one of the best 100 eating spots in New York City. It is fantastic. It's 10 minutes from my house, bro. We should definitely go.
Okay. Hang on. I'm writing these things down so I don't forget them. Lucia on Avenue X. How did you forget that?
Well, they just opened 2 more spots in Manhattan. They're gonna blow up this place. The food is so, and they're small spots. They're 10, maybe 15 people in seats. That's it. But the pizza, Mojo, I'm gonna take you to Lucia. I'm gonna take you to Spumoni Gardens. You'll never want pizza anywhere.
We didn't go to Locali. Locali is really good too. And the guy who started is a really cool guy.
So I forgot to mention when Roger and I went out to eat. He eats a lot because he's huge, right? He's 6'4", and he eats like a bear. And so I don't know if you guys know this. He kind of was.
Well, hold on. But you took me to a vegan Mexican spot. So yeah, of course I'm gonna eat a lot of vegetable.
I mean, I'm a big guy, but Roger is actually, animal sized.
So when we walked in, everybody.
Wait, Roger, he said that respectfully. You're animal sized.
No, that's just cool. He knows animals. So he's been in cars with the bears too. So when Dr. Jordan and I arrived at this place, I would say the average age was about 25, and me and Dr. Jordan came in, and it was weird. It felt like the music stopped and everybody in the place was staring at us. We were moving in slow motion. I think Dr. Jordan might be a celebrity in his part of LA because it was very, very.
Well, wait, let me just be clear. One of the reasons we went there, so it used to be owned by the Jackson family, Jackson 5. and it was open. It was late at night. There aren't many places open, so it's right on Ventura Boulevard. So I don't want to give people the impression that I was targeting younger folks. It just happened to be a place that was open as well, right?
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
And we did need to recover after I almost put him through the back window.
So, Dr. Jordan, can we agree that next time we hang out, we'll just get an Uber?
Yes.
Jordan, when you say he's animal size, what animal is it comparable to? 'Cause I know he's a big dude. I always know that. But
So there's an extinct species of bear that's gigantic called a short-faced bear, and he's like a short-faced bear.
Jesus Christ.
you should change your name from Mojo to Bear.
Wait, Roger isn't short. Well, look, Dr. Jordan said I was 6'4". I'm not 6'4", 6'2 and a half. And I don't know how much he said I weighed. I don't think I look like a bear. I think maybe more like a kangaroo when they stand.
I mean, I'm 210 pounds, and Roger's bigger than me, so, and I'm 6 foot.
I remember when I crossed the 200 mark, man, that was a crazy feeling when I looked at the scale and I went over 200. That was wild.
Yeah, I used to be happy about it. Now I'm not so happy about it because I understand that, you know, that's not really a healthy weight for me.
Hey, no, not all of you. I'm gonna guess you're 6'3", 6'4". Norm, you there?
Oh, sorry, yeah, I was talking with the mute on. 6'3".
Yeah, you know, you have that look
Right.
about you. You have that look about you that you can scrap. Let one of these anti-Semites say it to your face and they something.
Yeah, I mean, you have to in New York. You have to be able to scrap, or else, you know, you're just going to be, you know, you're going to be victimized or something. You're going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Chopped meat. You have to be able to at all times. And then, you know, you carry yourself that way, and that avoids most scraps, you know. Showing a lack of fear. Being able to handle yourself. And sometimes the Second Amendment.
Hey, so Norm, when you were at those protests in the 60s, did you scrap?
No, it wasn't necessary. We didn't have to do anything violent. We marched around, we were like holding signs and
Wait.
chanting.
Were you at Woodstock?
No, I'm too young for that. But I was around, as a very young kid, I was around to protest the Vietnam War. And I did go. We used to have like demonstrations right in front of my high school. I was very young in high school. They kept accelerating me, and I thought, okay, I'm getting over it because I'm getting out of having to go to extra school. But it sort of caught up with me in the end because I got to college. I was really young, and I didn't really know how to handle myself socially with all of those opportunities, if you know what I mean.
You mean getting late?
Huh. Yeah, social opportunities. Yeah, because there were women who were much older and stuff, or a few years older. And, you know, I don't think a girl wants to go out with a younger guy.
That's not true. But
No?
let me ask you. Nah, definitely not. Did you grow up in the age of peace and love?
Yeah, kind of the tail end of it. I wasn't really into the punk thing, but when it came, I sort of fit naturally into it because that's the way I dressed anyway, you know, in a leather jacket, dark clothes. I mean, everyone in New York wears black, so it's sort of natural for New York. It's funny because in other sections of the country, people don't wear black. Or not as much. And then there was like one neighborhood in LA, it's not Silver Lake, what's it? Maybe it is Silver Lake. Silver Lake in the area after, like all of a sudden everybody's wearing black. It was the funniest thing. It was like the East Village.
You know, where are no good Jewish delis in New York anymore. They're all gone, Nomi.
I'm almost. Well, I mean, Katz's is sort of a tourist attraction, but I still think it's okay. I know some others. I'm almost hesitant to mention any Jewish locations on the app because I don't know everybody who's listening. It's a big room.
And no, if you and I go, me, you, and Mojo, go to Katz just for lunch, we're dropping $250.
Well, we don't have to eat that much. I can't even get through a whole sandwich on my own. The sandwiches are enormous. I don't have to drop quite that much. Look, Ken is here. We should include him too.
Oh, that would be great. I'd love to meet Ken. We used to have one great Jewish deli in San Francisco. It was called Miller's East Coast West, and they used to have their food shipped to them 3 times a week from another deli that was in New York City. So all of their ingredients came from a deli that was in New York. And then I don't know if it was the pandemic that got them, but the last time I was in San Francisco, the restaurant was closed.
What's up there, Ken? How you doing?
I'm hanging in, JB. How are you?
Sitting and hanging up. Yo, Ken, what's your three best pizzerias in New York City?
Wow, it's not fair to ask me anymore because I haven't been to New York in a long time. So, seriously, I don't even think I'd be qualified to answer that question.
Wait, are you in Vegas now?
I've been in Vegas for a long time now. In fact, I haven't been in, I haven't lived in New York as a resident for a very long time because I lived in California for years too.
The 3 best buffets in Vegas.
Oh, okay. Wynn. If we're talking about ones that are open every day, there's one really good one that's only open Sundays, but we skipped that one. It would be Wynn. And this is going to surprise people because everyone's going to say, why don't you say Bacchanal at Caesars? But I won't. Wynn, the Palms, and here's the hidden gem, and this is a relatively new buffet. It's a kind of a buffet within an existing Chinese restaurant, so it's not necessarily marketed as a buffet. It's a seafood, Asian, what do they call it? Asian seafood buffet. And they have other stuff too, but within the Genting Palace in Resorts World. And it's cheaper than the Bacchanal at Caesars. I think the seafood is, better, the way that they do it.
Ken, I have a question for you. So, have you ever been to Tahoe, the Caesars, the Harrah's buffet at Tahoe?
I have been to Tahoe several times, but I can tell you I haven't probably been there since 2000. I mean, it's been a long time. I had one of Roger. I will tell you, I had one of my greatest gambling wins ever in Tahoe, but it was I think it was in the 1990s.
Were you at Bill's by chance?
No, this was at Harrah's Harrah's Tahoe.
Yeah, Bill's is a small one next door where almost everybody that starts a story about a big win in Tahoe, it came from Bill's, and I always wondered if that was some weird coincidence.
No, this was Harrah's Tahoe.
Wait, what was the game?
Well, there were 2 games, so I'm going to get to it, okay? So it started off, I hit a video poker progressive for it was like a $1 game. So, a $1 video poker typically only plays 4,000, but this was like a progressive. The meter was way up there. And I hit it for over 8,000. But the big part of it came, I went to a dice table. I started with a $25 bet. And it's a full, table, okay? You're asking me to remember exactly what happened 20 years ago. It's hard, but the dice came to me, so I was the shooter. So it wasn't, I just didn't get lucky on someone else's roll. It was my shooting, but it wasn't me just playing by myself, okay? And I held the dice for 40 minutes, which is, dice, that's a really long time. And I kept upping my bets. And starting with a $25 line bet, I won.
Did you fully back it up?
Of course, I always do that, But they were, but it was. I think at that point they were only doing 2 times odds. They weren't even doing 3, 4, 5, if I remember. It's a long time ago. But I won $10,000 starting with a $25 line bet, and that's not easy to do. So,
Dude, that's awesome. Ken, did you know the Cromwell? I haven't been there in a minute, so it might be different. But the Cromwell used to offer in Vegas 100 times odds behind your pass line.
was it the Cromwell or was it Casino Royale? I think it was Casino Royale.
They did as well, but the most recent one that I saw was Cromwell.
I doubt it. You know why? It's owned by Caesars. They would never do that.
Go look it up.
I'm like almost 100% sure you're wrong, Roger.
If they're not still doing it, that's fine. But I'll show you where.
Okay, I would be very surprised because Caesars is like a big corporation that's very tight on everything. All these places, the multi-property casinos, typically run their odds on dice the same way at every one of their properties. They don't deviate.
Can I ask you a question without you doubting yourself? What did you? I know you worked for the casinos. What did you do for them? Were you like a director?
No. I was more like I've been a consultant, at various times, because I was when I was on Wall Street, I followed the casino industry, so I learned a lot about it. And then when I kind of left that, and I had my own investment business, they were able to hire me when they wanted to.
What do you think? What do you think about New York City is going to get 2 brand new casinos? What do you think about that? I know the guy who owns the Mets, Steve Cohen's going to get one of them. By Citi Field, I don't know who's getting other.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, Jay. I know Stevie Cohen is considered one of the favorites. I wouldn't necessarily make an absolute bet that he's going to get one, but he's definitely one of the leaders. Okay, I'm going to tell you the one I think absolutely will get one, and I'll tell you exactly the reason why. And because it's not just New York City, as you know, it's downstate, so it's also the counties around New York City. So I think the number one contender is going to be where there's already an existing, technically it's a casino, but it's only slots, And I'm not talking about Aqueduct. I'm going to get to Aqueduct in a second. But like Aqueduct is the MGM casino in Yonkers. And the reason why I'm so certain about that is my understanding of New York politics. The state Senate majority leader is from Yonkers. The chair of the New York State Assembly Committee on Gambling is from Yonkers. And in New York, the state Senate majority leader has enormous power, almost as much as the governor. So that's what tells me MGM absolutely is getting one of the 3. Okay? Now, for a long time, it was always assumed that the Resorts World one at Aqueduct would get one because it's existing, and for some reason people perceive that, or well, if you're already existing, they'll give it to you to upgrade, so you can also offer table games. So for people who don't know what we're talking about, because I don't want to lose the audience, in the downstate area in New York, which is the New York City plus the counties immediate surrounding it, there are 2 places that have they're not even traditional slots, but they're called video lottery terminals. You wouldn't know the difference. They look like slot machines. Okay, and they pay a very heavy tax to the state and localities. But there's no table games. You can't play dice. There's no blackjack.
Ken, let me just say this real quick. Don't even mean it. I've been at Aqueduct one time. I'll never go back. It's a fucking.
I don't necessarily disagree with that.
Well, hold on. Before you go on, I just want to say I posted the thread on Wizard of Oz. That thread's a little old, so it might not be recent. It says both the Cromwell and Casino Royale.
Well, okay. Not that couldn't be wrong, but I'm gonna see if I can verify that with somebody.
Yeah, and if you can tell me, I'll tell you this: if you can verify that it is 100 times odds, that's probably the best place that we could all do a clubhouse meetup. Would be let's meet at the dice table that's offering that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure Casino Royale does it anymore. By the way.
Yeah, they stopped doing that a decade ago, I would say.
I didn't think it was okay. By the way, one of the issues, Roger, with 100 times odds, because I know that mathematically that's correct. I would probably, unless I was only betting $1, I would on the line. I would never play 100 times odds because of the volatility.
So it says on the Cromwell what they do is they allow 100 times odds on a $5 pass line bet. So they're essentially allowing you to back it up to 500 from $5.
Right. No, anybody that would try that would probably go broke. Most of these people. Okay.
Well, hold on. Just know though that the odds bet behind that is it nullifies the house edge. The only better bet that you can get on that entire table.
No, I understand.
If you can put your odds on the don't pass, the odds on the don't pass is.
I understand all of that, but most of these people that try the 100 times odds, particularly when it was only $1, you know. They don't come with like a $15,000-$20,000 bankroll. They got $500 in their pocket. They put $1 down. They take 100 behind, 7 out. They put another $1 behind. They put another 100 behind, 7 out. Okay, in 5 or 6 or 7 rolls, they're done. Okay, because variance is real. It's not just the mathematical. You know, I mean, you've got to survive variance. You know, and that's in any game. Even when you have an edge, even when you're a blackjack card counter or whatever, you've got to survive variance. And so you have to understand, like, you know, what we call your risk of room, and there's a mathematical formula for that.
Nobody's saying you win. In fact, the house still has an edge even on this. And you're right to point out that that you have to factor in variance. But when you're factoring variance, it's better. It's always better to reduce the house edge, and that's the maximum that you're going to neutralize.
You know what, Roger? Like every professional card counter I know, and I know a lot of them, including some of the guys who've written the books, where they actually have the edge, and they're not just like, okay, they would all disagree with you. That's what, and they all watch what they're betting, okay, in terms of bankroll management, okay, because of the variance.
Wait, hold on. I want to get this straight. You're going to say a professional game is going to rising house edge is it
Yeah, what I'm telling
you said that somebody would disagree with. Well,
yeah. I'm telling you that every professional, even blackjack card counter, okay, like for example, if somebody has let's say there's a blackjack card counter and their bankroll is 50 grand, okay, just to say, okay, and you said on this game the count is plus 13, which is a massive edge. Okay, it's probably as high of an edge you'll get on blackjack. Okay, you have an edge, you're not break even anymore, you have a massive edge on the house. Okay, will you take all your 50,000 that you have? Because if you lose that, you have nothing else to play with, okay?
Ken, you're making a point that I wasn't even talking about. I'm simply saying, like, you're saying, I'm agreeing that you should care about variance and bankroll management. What I'm suggesting is the better that you can put that reduce the house odds, the better off you are. Of course, you still have to manage your bankroll and consider variance, but there's not a single professional gambler that would disagree that minimizing the house edge is a good thing.
That is correct. However, they would all weight bankroll management, and the variance is more important than getting the last, the last edge. Meaning, so what I'm saying is, they would never risk their entire bankroll just because they got like 1,000th of 1 point, better edge somewhere.
Well, of course not. You wouldn't risk your whole bankroll even if you were a 52% edge to the player. Of course you wouldn't do that. But that's not my point. My point is that if you go to a craps table where almost every bet has a high house edge, and then you find the one bet on the table that almost neutralizes the house edge to 0, that's a much better bet, and nobody's going to disagree.
Right, except what they will tell you, let's say on the Cromwell, let's assume you're correct on the Cromwell, if your entire gambling bankroll that you brought with you is $500, betting, 5 on the line and 500 behind, is if you want to
Well, yeah,
have
then of
fun.
course you can't afford to play that game. I agree.
Exactly.
With you. I agree. You can't afford to play that game, but that doesn't make that bet bad. In fact, that bet will always be on
No, it
any
doesn't make the
given
bet.
roll.
It doesn't make the bet bad, but it makes it unintelligent for like 90% of players. Okay, or so. Because the average person doesn't have a gambling bankroll that they can withstand because you're basically betting $500 a roll.
I'm not arguing that at all. What I'm suggesting is that on any given bet, on that, and of all the bets you can make on the dice table, the don't pass backup odds bet is
You're
the
absolutely
best.
you're correct on the math. Okay, yeah, okay. And then there's the kind of the reality we play in real life. About like not going home broke. But you're correct on the math. And certainly, by the way, if you had Bill Gates's bankroll, then that would be the thing to do.
Sure.
And I'll tell you a Bill Gates story from Las Vegas to prove my point. By the way, okay, Bill, when he would come here, would play incredibly low limit, like poker, it's really low limit. Okay, like the stuff that like everybody could play. So he's playing at Bellagio. Whatever he's playing. Maybe he's playing a 2-5 game or something. It's whatever.
He's playing a white chip game.
Well, they don't have a white chip game at Bellagio or something. With the lowest game, what would have been?
So red
okay.
chip game.
Yeah. So it's a red chip game. Okay. And all the super high rollers are in Bobby's room. You know what that is, right, Roger? The high limit. It's not called Bobby's room anymore, but it was named after Bobby Baldwin. It's like this room in the back, but it's open to the public because you have to be legally. So anybody who comes up with enough table stakes can play. Okay, and they play for super high stakes. Well, Jennifer Harmon, who some of you, if you follow poker, one of the top poker players, right, in the world. Okay.
We were just talking about her yesterday in this room, by the way.
Okay. Jennifer walks over to Bill Gates and tries to induce him into their game. And I think they were playing 10,000. They were probably playing no limit, but I think Bill sometimes was playing limit. He might have been playing 10, 20 limit, whatever the situation. So anyway, so she goes over to him and says, hey, we're playing like 10,000, 20,000 or something. Would you like to join us? And Bill basically, his response was, he says, change the limits to 1 million to 2 million. I'll be right up. And she just turned white. Okay? And all of a sudden she just soaked off. Okay? Because she was trying to sucker him in, and he was basically telling her, you know what? You think you're a big shot. Now you're not. And so, and the fact that Jennifer Harmon, even if she would have somehow been able to borrow the money somehow, wouldn't have played Bill Gates for 1 million to 2 million.
Well, I would actually push back on that, because what we were talking about last night is that when it comes to cash games, people have found their heroes from television that have won poker tournaments, and the tournament circuit's completely different, which she plays on as well. But when it comes to cash games, she was the biggest financed player that played, and not just in Vegas. She was in LA. She played big games in Texas.
Well, I know. Well,
Yeah.
I understand. But there's a limit. There's a limit even there. How much you can borrow, what limit she was going to play. You know what I'm saying? It's not limitless. Bill Gates effectively has a limitless bankroll, which is the point that he was trying to make.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I wonder. I would imagine she's played at that state before, because there's been Texas oil billionaires that have talked about playing.
I know about those games, and there's a book written on it, but they weren't playing. So Roger, I'm talking about with the blinds. The lowest blinds are like 1 million to 2 million.
Jennifer doesn't play games on cash games. None of them play.
Well,
Not
yeah.
Doyle Brunson.
Well, they wouldn't finance themselves, but they could find people that would back them to play those games.
Well, no, they never have. So I'm going to tell you right now, they never have. The closest you'll come, and there's a book written on it, okay, and it's called like The Banker and Suicide and something, and I forgot what the other part of it is. It's a story about a Texas banker, actually, named Andy Beal. Very wealthy guy, a billionaire, okay? And, and he was willing to put up like X amount of money to play because he wanted to play against, this crew, right? And, and even there, I forgot what the blinds were, but they were not $1 million, $2 million, okay? But it was a limit game, by the way, not low limit. Andy was not stupid. Andy was only going to play a limit game, okay? So they agreed to a limit hold'em, okay, which, you hardly see anymore, okay? And whatever the stakes were, and you could read the book, so I don't have to, recall it incorrectly. Yeah, they borrowed money and they pooled their money, actually. He was playing against a syndicate and he knew it. So they basically all pooled their money, and there wasn't a ring game. It was like a limit hold'em, and then they got to choose what player played against them at any given time. So in some cases it was Jennifer, and in some cases it was Ted Forrest, but it was always heads up, right? So it was heads up, limit hold'em, and the syndicate was that he understood that they didn't have this kind of money. They could pool their money and then pick one of them to go play. They could switch the player out every hand if they wanted. Okay, that's what they did. And there's a book written about it. He won some, he lost some, but there's a whole book written about it. Okay, and that's as close as you've ever gotten to like a billionaire, like knowingly walking into a game and then pooling their money. Okay, and and he was betting amounts that were still easier for him than for them, okay? And, but nonetheless, and I think they also probably wanted a limit game because of the fact that, they can't withstand the variance as much as he could. But, so anyway, we spoke too long about poker and we just lost half the room.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I prefer to have the conversations I like to have. I don't care if people aren't interested, they can leave. But no, you're right about the Beal game. The biggest hand in that session was 11.7 million was the biggest pot. That was the biggest single pot. Which is, if you think about that, being a single pot, almost $12 million, it's fucking.
Yeah, but I think Ted Forrest ended up losing millions in that, if I remember right. I think he wiped out his poker bankroll.
Yeah, it's crazy. And just to speak on that, like anybody that wants to go play poker, if you're serious about, if you're not just going to go casually play once or twice, you should have a bankroll of a minimum of 100 times the small blind. And if you don't have a minimum of 100 times the small blind, you shouldn't even.
There's a female who moved. There was a movie made about a woman who she's from Colorado, I think. There was a movie made about her. She was one of the very few female professional poker players at one point, and there was some scandal surrounding her story. I can't think.
I think she's not from Colorado. I think I know who you're talking about. She's not from Colorado. You talking about Annie Duke?
No. Let me look.
By the way, Annie Duke is overrated, and Howard Lederer is even more over.
Yeah, okay. But, because the only, there's only, a couple of, really at least well-known, that are known. Because, people could, survive in obscurity in terms of female poker players. And Annie Duke is one of them. Jen Harmon's another. Cindy Violette's another. Even though Cindy is, probably more known for playing stud than.
The book is maybe you know Ken. The book is called Molly's Game. It's about.
Oh yeah.
I'm connected to her on Facebook.
That game is about Tobey Maguire essentially like having people that were losing players with big budgets in LA come and play, and then they moved the game to New York. I mean, like that book is all about Tobey.
What is her involvement? What is
She arranged the game. She was like the hostess, and she was getting cuts for running the game, but she wasn't playing in those games.
I see.
So she's not a top female poker player.
There's a movie made from this book. It's not a bad.
There is, but it's not. But she's not a. But she is not a top female poker player. She's crucial to the story because she arranged the games. She was basically the. I mean, and she wasn't. When I say she arranged the game, she wasn't even playing the house because because whatever they're playing themselves really, because there is no house. Okay. She just arranged the game and she got a cut. However, she got compensated for arranging the games. Like she would invite Tobey Maguire, as Roger said. She would find the players, and she'd make sure everybody had the beer, alcohol, and whatever else they want. She was just playing hostess.
And keep in mind, the whole reason they were playing in these games in these hotels and playing privately is because they didn't want just anybody at the table. They were hand selecting people with major bankrolls that they knew couldn't play very well. But the types of people that when you tell them, hey, so and so is going to be at the game, you want to come play? Because they wanted to get that close to the celebrities, they'd say okay. And a lot of those guys would go and lose tons of money and still feel good about it because they were losing their money to.
Jessica Chastain plays Molly Bloom in that film.
And Michael Cera plays Tobey Maguire, but they don't call him that.
Michael Cera is much more, much less masculine even than Tobey Maguire. That's very funny.
Some of those guys are pretty decent, though. Ben Affleck actually paid lots of money to accelerate his learning curve because he would go to the Commerce in LA back when right after 2004 when Moneymaker won the World Series. Everybody wanted to go play poker, and Ben Affleck was really into it, and so he found Poker Pros, paid them a shitload of money, and accelerated his ability to play. And he would sit in limit games at the Commerce where they were playing 300, 600 blinds. It was a limit game, but 300, 600 is a big fucking game, as Ken can probably.
Before, I would say before Moneymaker, or just a couple of years before Moneymaker. I mean, even in the 90s, most of the bigger games were limit games. I mean, television made a big difference, and the Moneymaker thing made a big difference, switching everything, into no limit in terms of the way cash games are played. I mean, the World Series of Poker has always been, the main event was always no limit, okay? But that didn't translate into a cash games were played,
You're right. You're right. Most small card rooms, you'd walk in and they'd be like, "What do you want? 3-6 or 4-8," and they were just playing limit hold'em. And then even the places that spread bigger games, it was limit. What's interesting, Ken, is the three big events that caused the poker explosion. It was the Moneymaker winning the main event. That was a big thing. But one of the things that made that possible for people to be interested in was the whole cam, where they could use the camera to show the audience at home. And then the third part, and probably the most important part, was online poker. Because then it gave people that were intimidated to go into a casino and sit at a table the anonymity to buy in, learn the game, lose their money without anybody mocking them. And so those three events all happened, at a very similar point in time, and was very potent, and that's what caused the explosion.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, one of the other things that happened from online is that, younger players were now able to play, because they could play multiple tables, they were able to play millions of hands that otherwise would take like a lifetime. You know, so all of a sudden you get somebody online, and in a year or two they've played as many hands as Doyle Brunson played in his life.
This is correct. I used to play with 6 windows open, and I had friends that would have 3 screens in front of them, and they would have at any given time 24 fucking games going. I couldn't do that. Like 6 tables was the most I could that I could actually play. But you're right. Even with 6, I was probably seeing more flops than poker pros from the past. But these guys that were playing like 24 games at the same fucking time, absolutely insane. And then they had automation to tell them, you know, like the tendencies of their opponents. They would tell them if they fold on the flop, if they fold on the turn, and then if you could find people that are loose or passive, you'd be able to play them.
So Roger, let me ask you this question. Somebody sort of made a comment today, which I agree with anyway, that even though this person has played online poker, he said never, you know, never in the future because of AI. He just thinks that, you know, it's, you know.
I think whoever said that is foolish, because if anything, what the AI is going to allow us to get better at is bot defense. And so if you're not a human, it'll be able to more easily detect that. And so while there's been a history of all kinds of corruption in these games, you know, from people that work for the online gaming company having a God account where they could see the other player's cards, that actually happened, to people having bots playing optimal strategy for them, which, by the way, if you ever want to tip that over, all you have to do is just start playing like a maniac, and then they don't know what to do. But no, I would say that what the ability to identify if somebody is a bot or not is actually going to make the game safe.
Interesting libertarian approach, like let the market fix it.
I wouldn't. There's too much stuff that's happened in online poker, and like things that you won't even know. For the average person, like, you should stay away from it. You know, and the only time it would make sense is for somebody who's going to do this full time, that's going to know every piece of software, like the stuff that Roger referenced that tells you about people's tendencies, which some of the sites actually, I think, tried to ban, so you weren't supposed to play with that, you know, all sorts of stuff. Okay, it's so different than playing a live game, you know.
It is definitely different, but you know, there's people from pockets of the world that you would have thought, how did they learn how to play Texas Hold'em? And online poker is what got them there. Like the Norwegians, for example, these guys, when they get online, they like, just like anything else, you're going to have like cultural phenomena. Whatever reason, they just decided to play a far more aggressive style of poker. And for a while there, nobody could really handle it because, you know, if you were trying to use, you know, traditional poker math, you would say, oh, I don't have the odds to call that, I'm not going to. And these Norwegians were just running over people until people started playing with them more frequently, and then they realized that, like, okay, I'll use their aggression against them, and then you would play ultra passive until they played aggressive, and then you'd come back over the top of them, and then you would, like, you would scare them away. So there's all kinds of, it's an evolving game on how styles are played. One of the most interesting things is there was probably maybe 100 people on the planet that were playing, like, you know, the game with optimal strategy. And then Doyle Brunson writes a book because he realized that writing a book would give him more money than he was winning playing in poker on what optimal strategy was. And then you've got all these poker enthusiasts that, you know, for the last 30 years are reading this shit. And now you've got people that are sitting in a low-limit game that know more about the game of poker than Brunson probably did for the first 10, 15 years of him playing poker. You know, it's so in order to respond to that, you have to think about, like, okay, what does my opponent know about this game? Do they know odds? Do they know pot odds? Do they know implied odds? Do they know position? Do they know good starting hands? And you try to decipher how knowledgeable they are, and if they're a really good player player, then you have to ask yourself, how do you beat a really good player? And the way you beat a really good player is by being very tight, and then with the hands that you play, but then super fucking aggressive when you do come into a hand. There's all kinds of ways to do this, and I'm by no means a fucking expert. At a certain limit, I'm a profitable player. At another limit, I am absolutely the fish at the table. And the thing that dictates this is not just bankroll, because there's plenty of people with a big bankroll that just know better than to stay out of some games. There are some games that I'm just not suited for. There's fucking people that can calculate this stuff in their head automatically, and on top of that, they have the discipline to play consistently. My big problem was always I would get bored playing well, and then I would say to myself, I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. And then during that mix it up period, that's when I bankroll would.
I doubt Doyle Brunson wrote the book because he thought he'd make more money from the book than he made playing poker. I think he just decided to write a book, whatever, you know. I don't think there was.
If he was making it like what people think Doyle Brunson was making playing poker, I don't think he would give the secrets away that made him a profitable player. I think what he realized was like, it doesn't matter. Let me just go sell this fucking book. In fact, what he should have fucking done is wrote a book and told people how to play poorly. That's.
Yeah, but you know, you actually read that book, he's not like telling you things that any like reasonable poker player wouldn't have already figured out. So maybe he makes an absolute amateur more educated, you know, before they maybe start playing anything. But I think anyone that was playing poker, even against him, who may not have been as good, I mean, in terms of like range of starting hands and stuff like that, I mean, at some point, you know, you figure that stuff out. I mean, you know, I don't think Doyle will tell them, you know.
I think what that book does is it accelerates the learning curve. If you take somebody that's got an interest in learning poker and you let them read, you can read that book, or you can read, No Limit Poker. There's a lot of things that you could read that basically accelerate, I would say, minimum 5 years of what it would take for you going and losing in a casino, maybe 10 years of it. And then there's some people that, because they're just not smart, they'll never fucking do that. And I know people like that you know, you give them suited connectors, they'll play them for any price and any.
The Iranians were dying in the streets.
For Doyle,
They were dying, and all they were saying was,
it accelerates the learning curve of like the amateurs, right? But to the extent, you know, listen to people, and most of the people he's playing against, even when he was playing in his heyday, none of them are like amateurs, but by the time you're playing him, right? So, you know, they kind of figured out the stuff, and they figured all this stuff out, okay? They didn't need to read his book. His book was for John G. Citizen. You know, so he made John G. Citizen, and we read the book about the player, but John G. Citizen was probably not sitting at the table with Doyle Brunson, so it really didn't matter.
Yeah, well, now things have changed where, like, if you were to ask some of these kids that are playing how to play jacks pre-flop from the button, I think the answer that you're going to get from young kids today is going to be fundamentally different than what Doyle Brunson would have told you 30 years ago.
That's probably true. That's probably true. By the way, there was just a hand. You don't know about this. Just how. When he had this hand in the World Series of Poker, they had that. Like today, yesterday. I can't even believe the way it got reported. I read the story only because I thought this was going to be like some hand where maybe a four of a kind of Peter Full House or something like that, you know. But no, it wasn't that. Okay, so a well-known professional player, these are names of, like, I don't even know anymore because most of the people I knew who were professionals, because I'm old, you know, are old, I mean, you know, they don't even really play anymore, you know, even how they basically just play the watch.
What's up?
But, this guy had pocket aces, you know, the other guy had pocket nines, okay, and the guy with aces, I think he's 6 bet, the guy with the nines, okay, the guy with the nines, you know, just go, at some point, I guess he just called it. He's got raising, right? But it went from like raise, right? And the guy's only got pocket nines, okay? The flop comes 9-4-3. Okay.
Surveillance video captures the wild moments of smash and grab robberies using a car to bust
I
in.
forgot what the pot size, all this
Two
matters, but I
sporting
forgot what
goods
the
stores
pot
were
size was.
broken into
But
in
the
just
so the guy with the aces,
on Wednesday.
makes a decent sized bet.
The suspects appear
Okay,
to go
the guy
straight
with
for
the
the gun
nines just
department,
flat
but
calls.
to no success.
Okay.
Cases remain locked. So far, no arrests have been made.
I think the turn.
The Supreme Court ruled this morning that South
I
Carolina
don't know
is
what
allowed
happened.
Planned Parenthood is not a qualified healthcare provider.
But
And
on the
See,
river,
in the case,
the
my
last
husband
night,
was led to believe
right?
that the intruder unalive.
and the guy with
See
the
what I'm saying?
aces
The
shoots
person-
in his entire bank up the whole thing. Of course, he gets gets the call by the guy with 4 nines.
That's what's going on. You can't do that, man. You really can't
But,
do it.
I don't consider that like
If you all know
a
what's going
freaking
on,
miracle. I mean, it was a miracle hand that he got 4 nines, but it wasn't like he got bad. Making it sound like it was a bad beat. No, he was behind from the flop, and it got worse by the time he got to the river. And so but I mean, the guy who played the nine just got lucky. I mean. And in fact, the guy with the aces probably should have, at some point should have just put them all on pre-flop, but or made it like where we'd have to go all in pre-flop. So he probably misplayed that hand, because it goes to your whole comment about jacks. Jacks and nines at that point are basically the same hand, Either you're going to hit a set or you're not, But, one of the most dangerous things when you have pocket aces, even when your head's up, is the other person having it in the set. And you've always got to take that into consideration,
Yeah, no, you're right.
Look at this big guy over here.
Well, it's tournament champs.
So this
but it's
guy,
not
let's
cash.
call him Gio.
It was the main event of one of the games at the World Series, so it's tournament champs. So, I mean, but, they're playing for whatever. I don't remember the size of the pot, but they are tournament chips. But if you lose the hand, you're out of the tournament. So that's a bigger deal. One of the things in the tournament is, you want to kind of last a while. And this was early, I think this is early in the tournament, this is early in the main event. And this guy who lost, because I think this was day 1 for him or something, it was going to go 4 days. He said, I'd rather that happen on day 1 than on day 4, and so I don't have to lose 3 days, because now he knows he lost,
So here's the thing about a tournament, though. If you have confidence, the best holdings that somebody has against them, you're an 80% favorite to win. Which, if you're playing a cash game, and you think that, I like to think of cash games as one long session rather than just individual sessions. I think my lifetime playing cash games. So if I want to lay down a hand, I'll lay down a hand. There's no urgency the way that because a cash game is a infinite game, whereas a tournament game is finite. And when you're in a finite game, the goal is to get everybody's chips. Even if you are an 80% favorite to win, I'm not suggesting you fold them, but the math will say that if over the course of a 4-day tournament, if you were dealt pocket aces, 5 times and happen to get all your chips in, mathematically you're supposed to lose one of those 5. And so when 1 out of 5 hands, when you go all in pre-flop with aces, over the long haul, 1 out of 5, you're going to lose. And so I think that sometimes people, when they're in a tournament, they lose sight of what the ultimate goal is. And look, if I can double through somebody and I've got pocket aces, I'm going to do that. But depending on what's happening, for example, if there was 2 people on short stacks and we're about to make the money, I can even there are times in a tournament that I can convince myself that folding aces even pre-flop.
I agree, but this was not one of those situations. This was really early in the tournament. It got the heads up. I mean, obviously, you realize that in a ring game, if there's still 7 people in the in the thing after when you go to the flop, aces are not even the favorite. The field is the favorite, right? Okay, but this was none of that. This got to heads up. Okay, and quite frankly, 80-20, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I'm putting that person all in because you know what? Here's what happened, and this is exactly what happened in this situation. If you allow a flop to come, the guy has some sort of hand. You don't know what it is. It could be 4-7 offsuit. He could have been, but you don't know if the board comes 4-7-7. You don't know where you are. Okay, after the flop, that's far more dangerous. Not knowing where you are after the flop, okay, than going all in heads up with aces.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
I
100% agree. I like 99 out of 100 times, if I've got aces pre-flop and I've got somebody that's willing to raise me, I'm shoving all in, to try to take it down there, or take my fact that I'm favored at this point in time, and then see the whole hand that way. However, if there are circumstances that make you think, fuck, I like at this moment in time, losing my whole stack would be really fucking detrimental.
And you went through those. If you're on the bubble with all that stuff, but that's by the way, this on the bubble thing. You said you don't care. I think that stuff's way too complicated for like this room. If you don't mind losing every single person who's here.
No, I think the only people really tuning in right now is me, you, and Norm. But Norm, I think, would understand that, like, if, let's say, the top 500...
I'm looking at the audience. There's still, like, 13 people. I don't know if they're paying attention.
But most of them are doing housework and then just casually listening and waiting for somebody to jump in the room and curse somebody out. That's kind of like what the audience does. But what's interesting about the bubble, right, is like, let's say if you're in a big tournament, they're going to pay money to the top 500 people. If you once you find yourself in like there's 510 people left, and let's just say making it to pass the bubble just gets your money back, or maybe doubles your money. The strategy dramatically changes at this time. If you're short stack, you just want to survive, and if you have a bigger stack, you know that people are in survival mode, so you can steal blinds very aggressively, right? And so that it's one of the most interesting parts of the game. And so what I've noticed with the aggressive people is, like, it used to be the people with the big stacks would be ultra aggressive when we get to the right to the bubble. Now what people have learned is that people they know that you got to play tighter as you get to the bubble, and so then you can get those mid stacks that start playing aggressive to steal blinds. And if somebody comes over the top, then they typically lay it down. But that's my favorite part of the tournament, because that's when the heroes are made, is right before you get.
We just lost you. Or your mic is off, so.
Sorry, I muted. Did you guys hear that last part?
I'm not sure, because I'm not sure what the last part is.
I was just saying that people play differently when we're getting to the
that's
point.
Yeah.
There's Mike. Mike was in the other room, supporting the other room when they were having their drama. Mike likes the drama. Mike won't come up. Oh, there he is.
Supporting. Come on, we're better.
Why were you supporting the drama, Mike?
I love the drama.
She's going
We've got like one tea bag that we've been using to make tea for the past 4 years since COVID, and we finally got a little.
Chicago, she's going to jail forever. Bankruptcy for sure.
Ken, what you missed earlier was some old school clubhouse drama where some people in other rooms were allowing people to go crazy and say racist shit, and then they claim victims when they got called out on it.
Well, I don't hang around that stuff anymore. That's really not on here a lot anymore. I actually came into the room about the title initially, but we've lost all the New Yorkers, so I was just going to say that in my view, I think the
Really?
only
They do
two
that stuff?
really,
I'm
I
sure they also
shouldn't
dumped
say
the sub
only,
off the
but
back of the
the
car.
two best
Everything
food
about the sub is
cities,
a lie.
and I don't think they've got close competition, is New York and Las Vegas. Not even Los Angeles, which I know well. I mean, Los Angeles has a lot of good food, but a lot better than it did when I first moved there, for sure. But
A lot of people would say Chicago can.
it does, but I mean, I don't think anybody. Have you, other than native Chicagoans, have you ever seen somebody rank Chicago ahead of New York for food? Really?
No, but I can only go by what I like. I would say that California's got the best food that I've ever had. I now live in the Pacific Northwest, and Portland is a decent food city if you like food trucks. You're not going to find fancy restaurants that are nice, but for food, the food truck scene in Portland, banging. And if you want good Chinese food, going to Vancouver. I've never had better Chinese food than Vancouver. But then again, if you were going out for a nice dinner, you wouldn't say, hey, let's go get Chinese.
Wait, Vancouver, Washington, or Vancouver,
Vancouver, BC.
It's in British Columbia, right, Roger?
Yes, correct. It's just above the border. It's a really interesting city to visit. It's much cleaner than the big cities on the West Coast. But if you go into this one area where they have this large data center, it's on a street called Hastings. Like you could, like all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is where you hide it. And so what they've done is they've basically permitted all of the lowlifes to hang out in about a 6-block radius, and then the rest of the city is fine. And I don't know what the deal is. Maybe they just don't police that area, so they're like, hey, look, if you want to fucking be on crack, go hang out over there. But there's about a 6-block radius of Vancouver that's horrible, and then the rest of the city is.
I would disagree with you that if you were going out for a nice meal, that you automatically exclude the Chinese or Asian restaurants. I mean, that's kind of like the bias of, the American bias of, like the only really good meal is a steak and lobster or steak or whatever. I mean, I don't agree with that at all. And by the way, a lot of the Asian restaurants, at least even near me now, there's a lot of places that have Wagyu, real Wagyu, Japanese Wagyu. And Japanese Wagyu is, it's really good stuff. It's at an Asian restaurant. A lot of them but we have, Korean places that have Wagyu,
You know the problem with Korean food? I just don't know what it is. There was a Korean spot in San Jose, California, and if I went with my Korean friend, I'd be like, oh, okay, because the food's out, and you grab it like Sizzler style, and you put raw meat on your plate, you take it back to your table that has a fucking barbecue on your table, and the Korean guys, they know how to cook it, but there's something weird about just having raw food, raw meat sitting out in the open and letting people.
Okay.
We have the nature of this man here. If your lordship cannot tell what is true and what is not, then I fear his judgment is beyond repair.
Hot pot is in the bowl with the, where you get. This is Korean barbecue, where they literally the table itself has like an oven embedded into the. You're talking Chinese hot pot. Those are two different things. I'm familiar with that too. Right now, I was talking about Korean. But we can. I think the same goes for both. Where you're cooking it yourself. Why the fuck would you go to a restaurant and they bring you raw food and then you cook it yourself?
What your money is.
Yeah, I think that's true. And by the way, some of the places, even in Vegas, they have staff that don't want to do that. They'll
have my word on it.
They'll handle it. You don't want to handle the utensils, the meat, whatever. I mean, they'll do it for you.
I just think restaurants are getting crazy. It used to be they prided themselves not just on the food, but on the service. Now, the biggest thing is the fast casual. They want you to tip them when they don't even bring the food to you, right? I feel like it's just gotten out of hand. And then when you go into a restaurant where they want you to cook your own food, it's like, dude, if I want to cook my own food, I could have stayed home. Walmart is doing something interesting. It's not related to food, but it's just related to that audacity of you do the work and you pay extra. When they had installed all those self-checkouts, they realized that a lot of their stores were actually making less money. When they moved to that, they thought, oh, if we cut out the labor expense, we'll have more profits. But there was actually less people shopping. And so they were trying to figure out, like, well, what do we do with all this self-checkout? So now they've got a thing where you could subscribe to have the right to use the self-checkout. So even though people didn't like the self-checkout, now they've got a thing where they want you to pay for it. So imagine that. You have to pay to bag your own groceries, where the old deal was you came in, you bought your groceries, and the store paid the person to bag your groceries. I think this world's moving in the wrong.
That's ridiculous. So let me ask you, because we don't have a lot of Walmarts near, like, where in my immediate vicinity. We have them in Vegas, obviously. So I don't shop at Walmart, okay? But if you're telling me if I walked into a Walmart and I wouldn't have been a subscriber, I wouldn't even know about this. But if I happened to find a Walmart and I walked in, got a couple of things and went to the checkout.
It's not all of them. It's test markets. It's not all Walmarts. I think eventually what we'll head to is what they do at the Amazon Go stores. I don't know if you're familiar with those, but in Seattle, you walk in, you grab you first scan your Amazon account, and then you walk in, and you literally just grab things, and you leave, and then it automatically bills you.
Yeah, more and more places like that, yeah.
Yeah, you don't even see the people. Although somebody on Clubhouse, when we were talking about it, was saying that it's not real automation that they're deploying, but that they have cameras, and that there's people in India monitoring the cameras, and then they see that you've logged in, then they watch what you put in, and then they manually ring it in. If that's the truth, I don't know if that's the truth, but somebody on Clubhouse said that. If that's the truth, that's the most ridiculous thing.
I don't believe that's right. But by the way, fast casual in general, as a category, is under tremendous pressure. There've been a lot of bankruptcies, a lot of restaurants that have folded. Okay, so I don't think fast casual is like the growth. It's not a growth category, and I don't know. I wasn't believing the impression that it is. It's not. It's in many ways dying. Go look at Darden and how many stores that they've closed, and just how many fast casual places have closed. I mean, Sizzlers and whatever. I mean, TGA Fridays, I think, has closed most of its locations recently. I mean, it's a disaster for fast casual,
In the Pacific Northwest, they're still opening them by the dozens. It's fucking crazy.
That's like an aberration if you look at like national numbers, and a lot of these companies were publicly traded, so you could actually look at the numbers where they peaked out with stores, where they are now with stores, and the ones that completely have like gone. I mean, I used to cover this sector on Wall Street. Okay, I mean, this is probably the heyday was the 90s, I guess, when everyone was opening them, like all sorts of different, things. Okay, and now you look at, there's like whole companies that are gone, Ruby Tuesdays, I don't know if there's any of those left, I mean, there's just so many of them that just disappeared,
Okay, now I'm going to make a prediction, and we can mark the tape. I'm going to guess that in the next 10 years, we're going to see shopping malls revived. And here's why. The anchor stores were going bankrupt. And I think what's going to happen is the anchor store model is going to come back, but they're going to utilize a subletting model, kind of like the way that Kohl's currently does with like Sephora, where they, okay, you've got your own brand, you can come in here and you can set up a shop within our location. And I think those big mega stores that were anchors that only sold their own shit, I think there's going to be entire floors dedicated to other brands that are subletting within those locations. I think that's going to be the future of actual retail. Some people think that retail's gone because of home delivery. I think it's going to actually have a resurgence with just a tweak.
Could be. Well, when you're talking about fast casuals, just so we're on the same page, because I may have even used the term incorrectly. Are we talking about like a sit-down restaurant?
I'm thinking about Chipotle, where you go up to the counter, you order your food.
Got it. Okay, that's fast. You're correct. Fast casual. Okay, that's a little different than what I was thinking of. Because most of the damage has been in the more sit-down casual, like at Applebee's, and in more of an even fast casual. So you're probably right.
Yep.
Fast casual is still there.
There's a sushi restaurant near me where you order on a tablet. When you walk in, you go sit down, and the food gets brought out to you by robots. They don't take your order, and they don't deliver your food with human beings. And it's a pretty decent sushi restaurant.
Yeah, and there's one down here with it now. We have one that does the robot thing, and there's another one that has a conveyor, which I think is more common in Japan. They have like a conveyor belt thing, where there's like a conveyor belt.
Yeah, those are the old sushi boat model. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think Mike would like sushi. Mike, are you a sushi guy?
No, I've never had a sushi. I've never had a Chipotle. I've never had a mango.
Are you a steak and potatoes guy? Like if I were to come over and hang out with Mike, we're eating steak and potatoes?
No, I'll do steak and potatoes. But
Oh, I forgot you're Italian. And we're probably gonna get some lasagna with some fresh manigout, right?
I'd probably make a carbonara or a linguine classic.
Dude, I just had a carbonara. You're gonna hate me, from Olive Garden, and it was chicken and shrimp. And I will say, it was actually not bad for Olive Garden.
How the hell do you make a carbonara out of chicken and shrimp?
Well, the carbonara sauce was made out of the whatever that pork is that they put in the sauce. But you made the carbonara sauce, and then they just added chicken and shrimp. What's the meat that you put in there? In the sauce? It's like
I think you're supposed to use like fucking guanciale or some shit.
Yeah. Most of the places that I've seen on the menu, it's an Italian pork that's basically all fat, kind of like bacon, but they'll always use some Italian name for it. But it's just basically like pork fat.
Yeah, no, I just meant like in the home, like if you're making carbonara once a week, you're probably using bacon.
Yeah, that's probably right. When you eat sandwiches, do you do oil and vinegar, or do you put mayo on your sandwiches?
I like mayo. I'm a mayo guy.
Damn. What do your Italian friends think of that?
I don't really have any Italian friends. I live in the Midwest.
On a related note, maybe this is too off subject, but there was an article I saw today of the most boring cities in America. I was really surprised, and the relation to the topic is just being on the culinary scene. Those cities that had terrible dining were considered the most boring. I know you guys are in suspense, so I'll tell you, Jacksonville is the most boring city in America.
Jacksonville, Florida? I would think there'd be good-looking women there.
Exactly. There's no city in Florida that should be so fucking boring. Columbus, Ohio was also highly ranked. Columbus, there's some really fine-looking gals at Ohio State. I mean, it's like the biggest college city in the world. I can't imagine it's that boring. I went there. Wasn't that boring?
Yeah, that was boring.
All right, back to the topic. My fault.
No, I will. Feel free to jump in with those kind of comments anytime.
Hey, Mike, I got a question. I'm not Italian, but I grew up with a zillion Italians in New York. My next door neighbors were Italian. So I'm very familiar with Italian food, and whether it was in New York or even when I went to California, mayonnaise is not something I've like seen on Italian cuisine, except for maybe like Subway type, like heroes, like submarine type sandwiches. Coca-Cola with some cheese and somebody puts mayo on it or whatever. Okay, but generally mayo doesn't show up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wasn't talking about Italian stuff. Like sandwiches.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, my wife makes a beautiful sandwich, and she put mayonnaise. Isn't it crazy how a sandwich always tastes better if you like it?
Yeah. Don't call me a misogynist when I make this point, but I'm glad you said it.
Burritos too. Like I think shit like that. Like any food that's like contained, right? Like a sandwich is contained between two pieces of bread, a burrito or a taco. I always fucking overfill my fucking sandwiches and my burritos, and the portions are all fucked up. My wife is like temperate. What is it? What am I looking for? Temperate. I don't know the word I'm looking for. She's judicious enough to put the proper. Yeah, she's tempered enough to put the proper amount of shit in a sandwich or a burrito.
But let me ask you this: as good as she might be at making that, if you were to barbecue and go out and get on the grill, would you trust her to make anything else?
No, and she can cook dinner. I'm not saying her cooking is not bad. It just leaves. It's not. If company's coming, she's not.
Self-control is liberty.
I have a friend, it's kind of funny to me. I have a friend who used to love to go to Hooters because he thought the food was exceptional, particularly the wings. I think the food is okay. I wasn't going to Hooters for the wings. I was like most young men. What do you guys think of Hooters as a culinary specialty?
I used to live right down the street from a Hooters in Dublin, California, and they had a great happy hour where I could get top shelf martinis, vodka martinis. So I'm using like Grey Goose or Belvedere or something in these martinis, and I'm getting $5. $5 top shelf martini, like you can't beat that. And so I can't tell you if the wings were made good or not. All I can tell you is that I drank inexpensive.
And by the way, consistent with what I was talking about, just whether it's casual, fast casual, maybe Hooters is probably considered casual, not fast casual. Hooters filed bankruptcy in March, and they've closed tons of locations. Okay, it's a very difficult time, for a lot of people in the restaurant industry. You got rising commodity costs, and increased labor costs depending on, where you are. I mean, California, it's, Roger, is almost like an impossibility now, with the minimum wage laws and everything. And I'm sure Seattle probably is too. It's just very difficult time. You almost have to be at one of the extremes. You need to be McDonald's, or you need to be super high end. Where you can charge, $90, $100, whatever for a steak. And have clientele that will pay for it. I think everything in between. Everything in between's troubled.
So I was listening to Chef Ramsay talk about the success of a restaurant, and he was saying that because of the cost of rent and because of the cost of labor, he said the only way you can make it work is if you can put asses in seats on a Monday and Tuesday.
I saw that interview. You're right.
Yeah. He said if you can get, he said Friday and Saturday is going to take care of themselves regardless of what you're doing. But he said if you can nail it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're 90%.
And a lot of restaurants, by the way, sometimes just close on a Monday or a Tuesday, and they're only open 6 days a week. Sometimes even some of the better ones.
Well, the other popular thing is some of these restaurants that are open exclusively for dinner, they'll open up their kitchen to some other kind of thing. There's this seafood restaurant that's by me where during the day, 5 days a week, they have people that come in and use their kitchen to make chicken sandwiches. And so the chicken place has gotten really popular. They don't even have their own location. They're just subletting and they're just renting out the kitchen during the day of a restaurant that was typically only open at night.
Yeah, there's a lot of places like that. Then there's the ghost kitchens. Yeah, everyone's trying to, make it work. And it's hard. It's a very difficult business.
You know what I think ruined a lot of dining experiences for me? It's the word fusion. Everybody added the word fusion to something, and they would abandon 1,000-year-old recipes because they spent 2 years in a culinary school, and they decided, I'm going to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I'll make it my own, and everybody's going to love it. And everybody got really fascinated with the idea of fusing these recipes together. I actually if somebody tells me they're doing French Vietnamese, I would rather go find the French restaurant or the Vietnamese restaurant. I don't want anything to do with mixing.
Well, brother, don't you think that particular one's a natural combination as the French controlled Vietnam?
I think I use that as the example of the one that people would accept most, as even that is something I don't want any part of.
Well, I'm going to tell you, there have been a lot of successful fusion restaurants. I mean, Wolfgang Puck, by the way, essentially, rose to fame through fusion stuff. I mean, you can't argue with his success.
Well, no, but I would say that you don't need to change a restaurant that sustained people for 1,000 years. The audacity to say, hey, I learned how to make a French sauce, and now I'm going to pour it over somebody else's fucking recipe.
Well, I don't think that generally happens. I think restaurants open up with a fusion concept as opposed to 100-year-old restaurants converting to fusion. I haven't seen that much of that.
No, what I'm getting at is that their recipes are a mixture of some traditional meal mixed with some other traditional meal, and I get it. That's their concept, and I'm just saying, for me personally, I think it's I would rather have authentic food than these kids that come out of culinary school that think that they're gonna change the world by mixing this recipe with that recipe.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, restaurants, I mean, how many ways are you going to make fried chicken? They have to come out with these fusion things so that there's an angle to get customers for butts and seats.
Just make the best chicken sandwich you can make.
I guess. I feel like, again, how many different ways, okay, we have pickle juice in chicken batter now. What's next? Watermelon juice in there? What's going on here? And yeah, that's the...
Look, I wasn't going to say anything, but Liz, you mentioning the watermelon juice, well, I'm just glad that there's certain people not on this stage, like Sarah.
or Marshall, if he'd be halfway through a fucking struggle session.
Pancetta is what I was thinking of the meat that you would use for carbonara.
And you know what? I am fond of barbecue chicken pizza. I can't eat it anymore, but it was good at the time in the night.
Oh, hello. I had all the fucking what was it, the Heart Attack Grill or whatever came out?
That place has the best milkshakes I've ever had in my life.
Well, it seems like that concept is all of fucking, or half of American food now. It's just covered in fucking cheese and sauce, served in the garbage can. It works.
Well, no, you forgot the other part is that the waitresses dressed in sexy nurse outfits spank you if you don't finish your food.
What?
Yeah, the Contact Grill in Vegas, and again, the best chocolate milkshake I've ever had in my life. They call it a butterfat milkshake. I don't care. I could, if I could only drink one milkshake again for life, that would be the one. The food itself wasn't that great, but if you don't finish your food, all of their actually when you go in, they have hospital gowns for like all the patrons to sit at the table and eat in, and then if you don't finish your meal, the sexy waitresses in nurse outfits spank you before you leave. Needless to say, many of the men in the restaurant did not finish their food.
I will say I had a queso cheese over my burger at Red Robin one day. They bring you a burger, and then they have this little tin on the top of the burger that has queso, and then they lift it up, and then it just covers the entire burger. It was actually pretty good, but I don't think I would be able to eat that very regularly. Like that's one of those things that, like after eating it, I was like, oh, what did I do to myself?
So I have a question. As the fast foods go, my favorite all-time burger is a triple with cheese at Wendy's, and God, I haven't had one in so long. Does anyone have a comment on that?
I think that's a great underrated choice. Their hot take, In-N-Out burger is probably the most overrated fast food of all time.
Oh yeah, In-N-Out burger is
No, hold on. Listen. If you don't know how to order at In-N-Out, I can see how you say that it's overrated. But if you haven't had a double animal style, then you haven't really experienced it.
What is
I
that?
totally agree with you, and In-N-Out is very good. It's just, I don't know, I think it's overhyped. Culver's in the Midwest is these good. And Wendy's makes a good burger. Animal styles. What is it, Roger? When they the grilled onions and
It's grilled onions and whatnot, and it's mixed in the it's got melted cheese with all that shit. It's amazing.
So the reason I like a triple with cheese at Wendy's, which I haven't had in a decade, is it just the sodium content is out of this world. Like there's more salt on that thing. I love it. I love that goddamn burger. And it's square, right? Those patties are squares. No, go ahead.
Why are square burgers like that big a deal? Now, I grew up with White Castle, and they were a big deal because it was horse meat. But why do people like Wendy's square burger?
I just think the burgers. Well, okay, let me back up. I used to like the double Whopper with cheese because I thought it was a healthier choice, right? And in a Big Mac, the way the Big Mac is done so poorly, it looks so far from what they present, right? When you go in real life in a restaurant, the real burger doesn't look anything like the promotion, of course. The Wendy's burger, however, I think looks far closer to the promotion at the Wendy's that I've gone through wherever. And I just think it's a better tasting burger. I don't know what to say. I don't know why. I don't know what it is other than that.
No, so what is your question?
I was going to ask you what your favorite fast food dish is.
I'm listening. Don't fuck this one up.
So, with all due respect, like, I don't really eat fast food. Sorry.
You only drink, right? You don't eat.
I know. He knows I'll get on his case.
Yeah, I don't really eat fast food, to be honest with you, so, yeah.
There's no question, guys. Like, it's not even a close. I mean, unless you've had, like, the perfect Philly cheesesteak, it blows away these burger joints. Like, it's not even close. the best fast food.
I had a Philly cheesesteak tonight with it was just the steak, mushroom, and onions. It was pretty good. It was. I'm sure you have much better places where you live, Abby, but I will vouch. It was probably the best meal I've had all week.
The rolls.
I will say, like, I don't.
It's the rolls.
Yeah, I don't really eat like hamburgers, but like I don't know, like I really can't pick like my go-to. I would say like the last time I had like a good hamburger was definitely not like a fast food place. It was like a local place in New Jersey.
How about boardwalk food, David? Like
yes, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Great boardwalk food.
Yeah, you know, Zabby, you know what's funny is like for some reason like getting like fries and like hanging out in the boardwalk. Yeah, definitely. I don't know why it tastes differently, right?
Well, it's also like I put this in the chat. The Italians in Wildwood make like the best pizza, boardwalk pizza. You know, it matters what shore community you're in.
Yeah, absolutely, sure. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Like you know, Atlantic City, like getting like a proper pizza in Atlantic City.
I
Yeah.
don't know. AC food not as good. Ocean City has much better food.
Well, obviously, like Abby, you know this. Like all my best friends, like we all have shore houses in Margate.
Yes.
And the Margate food scene is very nice. Very nice.
So have you guys ever like chased the like gone to Buffalo to get wings, like chased the origins of a particular junk food? You know what I mean? Like gone to cities where it originates from.
Without just interruption, without doxing someone, is there an Instagram account with the cannabis? I don't know. I'm gonna end up. I'm just trying to find out who's friend requesting me on Instagram. Dox, is that you, David? Is that you? You're not Jewish. Go ahead.
There's a few that are on Clubhouse with us.
I'll just ask people in the back channel.
Sorry, I don't have any cannabis teapots on Instagram.
Do you guys, it's the summer, do you have water ice where you are? Italian ice? No?
Nope.
So Liz, where you are, what's the junk food that's indigenous to there?
Okay, so I put Coney Islands from Detroit. Those are delicious. They have a knockoff in LA called Tommy Burgers. It's not quite the same, but it is locally known.
You Tommy Burgers is the knockoff? Maybe the other one's the knockoff.
No.
Tommy Burgers has been there for a really long time in LA. It's an LA institution.
Coney Island is an institution in Detroit.
And Tommy Burgers is an institution in Los Angeles.
I'm just saying. But also,
someone describe what it is.
You throw. Okay, so in Detroit, it's chili with beans, and they put it on everything. In LA, it's chili, no beans, and they put it on everything, including tamales.
Well, have you ever been to Dick's Burgers in Seattle?
With all due respect, like chili.
Did anybody hear? It's a burger joint. It was wrapped about by Sir Mix-a-Lot. Turn around the other way, stop and eat at Dick's. It's a very popular old school burger joint, and it's very interesting. It almost has like a cult-like following.
I was underage the last time I was in Seattle, so I couldn't go anyplace cool.
Sir Mix-a-Lot says Dick's is the place with the cool hangout.
Exactly.
I mean, I also like hoagies. I don't know. I call them a hoagie. You probably call them a sub.
Yeah, I call them a sub. I really like going to Dick's Last Resort in what's that casino in
Excalibur?
Oh, Excalibur?
Yeah.
You go to Excalibur?
No, but there's one time with my nieces and nephews wanted to do that, and I will just say the people at Dick's were very. I guess they're probably not supposed to be nice, but they were very not nice.
They're not nice, right? They're like Economic or Wiener Circle in Chicago. They yell at you.
No, but that's part of the theme, by the way, is that they're not supposed to be nice.
Yeah, but I don't get it.
When's the last time you went to Excalibur, Ken? Seriously.
What?
When's the last time you walked into Excalibur?
Oh, I can't even remember.
Right.
But I know what he's talking about, and I know that Dick's in particular, I mean that restaurant, their theme is it's their shtick, to use a Yiddish term, to be rude to people, and supposedly people are supposed to think that's fun, and if you like that kind of thing, that's I've never actually even eaten in Dick's. Quite frankly, I don't even know if I've ever eaten in Excalibur, other than I've been to the casino or something,
The Tournament of Kings. Where they have the jousting.
I've never even gone to that, actually.
Medieval times. Yeah, don't you have that? It's like medieval times, right? They have that.
You have to eat with your hands and everything, and it's like I never found it as attractive.
Ken said he is not a Moldovan peasant. He does not eat with his hands.
Wait, Liz, are those places still around, the medieval times?
I think they are.
They're all in Buena Park. In medieval times it survived, and then they have another one that's got like different themes. Why are you talking while I'm talking? Dude, is that somebody's friend? That guy's always drunk, and he's always talking over people.
I like how everybody rushed forward to say how that was their friend.
So wait, where is medieval time?
It's in Buena Park, and there's medieval times, but there's a couple blocks down. There's another one that it rotates every couple of years. They'll have like Wild West themes, they'll have pirate themes, so all kinds of different stuff. And so it just kind of changes. Medieval times is the only one that doesn't really change.
There used to be a place in Jerusalem. I don't think it's there anymore. It was called the Culinaria, and it was done like old Rome. But I mean, you're like literally in the old city of Jerusalem, and you're supposed to eat a meal. The same concept, you eat a meal with your hands and with utensils from ancient times. And they tried to make it very authentic. So on the side, right near where the bathrooms were, they had the vomitorium, which I guess is trying to keep it authentic.
Another LA classic, but it's been duplicated all over the country, is Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. Like that originated here, but everybody's doing chicken and waffles.
Okay, I haven't tried that. I'll have to try it.
A place that shut down that really shouldn't have. I think it's still in San Francisco, but I don't know if anybody remembers the Stinking Rose, which was at the garlic restaurant in Beverly Hills. They had a 40 clove chicken that was mwah.
What's it called?
The Stinking Rose. They did an excellent Bloody Mary that had garlic cloves in it. They actually did a garlic ice cream, which was not terrible. There was just nothing bad at that restaurant.
How'd your body smell after that, though?
Oh, you reeked. You absolutely reeked. And it was just a great place. I think the one is still open in San Francisco, but I really miss the Beverly Hills. That's one of those places where if you had a long weekend, you went there Friday night. there's Johnny's Pastrami. We don't do delis. Well, Cantor's.
I mean, my friends opened up a deli here with a 5-page menu. I have a sandwich named after me. Like, some of us, they gave us sandwiches. So it's funny because my original sandwich was a Philly cheesesteak, but they totally screwed it up. I got in a big fight with my friends who own the place because they put like mushrooms on the cheesesteak. I'm like, you don't do that. It was the wrong roll, and it didn't sell. So now I have the chicken parm is named after me.
Abby, is that in Philly or Vegas?
Vegas. It's the one, the big one down on, you know, where I'm talking about. It's near Piero's.
Well,
You mean the one that the deli that's been there for a long time? You mean? So,
No, it just, it was an old deli, then they moved it and they moved it and they made it huge. There's a huge bagel in front.
Yeah, okay, I know. For whatever reason, you don't want to say the name. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, we were supposed to go there like 2 years ago or something, right?
Food's great. Yes, the food's great. And they have. Okay, so here you go. It's a deli that has slot machines in the deli.
Is this the one, by the way, that's opening sister location?
Yes.
Boca Park. Yeah. I'm waiting for the Boca Park to open because it'll be better, much better parking.
Maybe I could get a different sandwich named after me.
there's a throwback to a former clubhouse person that we all, well, a lot of us knew and were friendly with, Nate Blonde. There's a place called Boss Sushi, and there was a sushi roll named after him.
Yeah, we were just talking about him yesterday. I was thinking about him. It's just so sad.
Did something happen?
He passed away.
I didn't even know that.
And he lived near us, Ken.
Well, I know he moved to Vegas. You know, I spoke to him once or twice when he moved to Vegas. He knows my brother very well. You know, so, but he never really called me when he was out here. And so I didn't know, you know, I knew some of his health issues, but, you know, from speaking to him, but I didn't know. When did he pass?
This one, was it?
I think it was either the December or January. It was recent.
I think it was December. It's kind
Wow, I gotta ask my brother. Even my brother hasn't mentioned that to me. I'm wondering if he even knows. Okay. That's interesting. How did you guys find out? Like, what?
I mean, I'm on Facebook, or, you know, there was like some friends wrote stuff, and everyone knew on Clubhouse. And,
yeah, I don't even look at my Facebooks anymore. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. That is, okay.
He had heart issues.
I know that, I know. I know about, you know, I know about that detail. I mean, but he was still living in LA.
Didn't he have a heart transplant recently?
Yes, right. He had a heart transplant.
Holy shit.
That was right. He had the transplant right before the pandemic.
Yeah, that's right, because when he moved here, it was kind of as the pandemic was ending. And he had it for a few years.
I remember him telling me in a small room that he goes, Roger, I'm not going to come back to your rooms. He goes, no offense, but he said it gave him too much anxiety, and then that's how when he started explaining his heart issue to me.
He was also a Sopranos super fan, and when I say super fan, I mean just absolute fanatic about that show.
Oh, also with Bugs, like mob stuff, because he had Bugsy Siegel memorabilia, like some serious stuff, very valuable stuff. He had, when they originally opened the Flamingo, they handed out, I guess, these statuettes, flamingos, and he had one of the original ones. He said that my friends that have the deli, he sold them. He had the original menu from the deli at the Flamingo when they first opened it. He was, I think he had a lot of, like, he was a collector.
Abby, are you all caught up on the drama between Sarah and Pepe and the civilized world of Clubhouse?
No. When I went to Zion National Park and was into nature for the last 2 days. What did I miss?
Oh, we had a good old-fashioned room and a response room and all that kind of jazz, because apparently we tried to help Sarah see the light that running rooms and allowing people to just go off shouting the N-word repeatedly is a bad idea, and she chose instead to go to the dark side and said that she thinks it's funny and nobody's going to tell her what to do. And so they did a room talking about how modding Pepe and saying how the N-word is just free speech, and basically they're done with the people that don't want to hear it. And so now we've got so Sarah is no longer welcome in polite society.
Okay, I missed all of it.
We even streamed their room into the room. The room that we're having now, it had a different title, but we were streaming it, and it was interesting to hear some of the weird commentary that they had. It was nuts. And then they even changed the title of their room to warning, we say the N-word, please enter with caution, or some shit like that. So they actually, all of the criticism that we had for them, they just kind of leaned into, doubled down, tripled down on. So don't be surprised if you don't see Sarah or Pepe around civilized rooms again.
I really don't like when I hear that, and when I hear the K word. I just prefer people try to elevate themselves a little bit. Well, at least that's one manic, whining, high-pitched, annoying voice.
I can't believe they tried to blame you for it, Liz.
I'm telling you, it's because they thought, or she thinks that I'm the only one on stage who won't speak back to her.
Hey, I thought she was talking about Pepe, the whiny.
Yeah, Pepe's got a shield now by the name of Sarah, and they're on a reign of terror.
You live in not Washington. Where do you live again?
Yeah, I'm in the Pacific Northwest, just north of Seattle.
Okay. Yeah, you're gonna be happy. They're gonna re-release The Last Dragon in October.
What? What theater?
AMC's right now. I'll let you know.
Are you coming out?
Coming out. The movie's gonna be on. It can't be everywhere.
Oh shit! Well, have them do a big old to-do out here and fly you out.
Hey, you gotta do it. Do it out there. I can talk to you about it.
I will absolutely stir the pot. There's a community of cinephiles up here that I think will love it. We will definitely get them out in droves. I'll even talk to the media to see if they can write that.
There you go. Yeah. Oh boy.
It's happening in October?
Yeah, you got AMC's website. It's on the 19th.
I'll check it out. I got in an argument with somebody in a Facebook group recently
where somebody was saying that they were talking about great martial artist in film, and somebody mentioned you, and then somebody came back and said, I've watched it, I tried to like it, I just didn't get it, and then I went off on him. I was just like, watch it again, you asshole.
It's funny. It's funny. Yeah.
Do you really teach gyrotonics?
Well, I took the teacher training, yeah, but I'm an actor.
I knew you were an actor, but I never noticed that other part of your profile.
Okay. Yeah. In New York, I did 2 teacher trainings of gyrotonic.
I have tried. I feel, Pilates I can handle, but I feel like I go in so many directions with the gyrotonics. It's really...
Well, you have to just surrender to the movement. It's subtle. Pilates is subtle. Gyrotonics is all about the spine, and there's a lot of details to it.
It's a lot of details. It's almost like rubbing your head and what's that? We're doing 2 different things at one time.
And there's a lot of depth. Julio Horath, the creator, he and his team, they create different apparatus that create more different kind of movements. Like the arch, the gyrotoner. It works the hips, and you're working your feet in the circular motion, as well as you're working your hands. I don't know if you've seen that machine, the gyrotoner.
Roger, we're talking about the gyrotonic machine?
No. Tell me about it.
It's like, well, you can probably do a better job. But, the concept like with Pilates, with the springs and stretching.
Yeah, I actually bought a Pilates little box thing that's got these little, it's got these little pedals, and you can do arm or leg things. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, little Pilates box.
I don't know that. I have a reformer, which is like the bed that you use, but the gyrotonic is, let him explain it.
Well, Julio Horath is Czech. He's Romanian. He was a ballet dancer, and he was also a gymnast, and he did yoga and different things like this. And he had a bad injury, an accident, somewhat like I've been going through. And he just couldn't fix it. He couldn't, and his passion was dance. He moved out to, I think it was the Virgin Islands somewhere, St. John's. I don't remember exactly, around there. And he found himself focused on his healing, and he got into meditation, and lo and behold, he had a download, and he saw these kind of cat movements, and he started doing these movements, and he healed himself of a really bad injury that was wasn't going to happen, and it blew away his dancer friends, and then they started doing these movements. It was first called gyrokinesis, and there was no machine involved. It was just these movements that were kind of yogic, and you have to see it to understand. It's kind of like a Tai Chi look, but you can do it from a chair. So that's what made it great. You can do it from a chair. You didn't have to be standing. Then his friends would bring other people than family members that were having really bad injuries, and that's where he developed this machine. And that was when gyrotonic was created. And now it's all over the world. And it's really for people that want to develop more flexibility and understand how to generate energy in the spine. It's big in the dancer community. I guess so. Mojo just flipped out when talking about the spine. But yeah, it's big of a dance community, and that's it. That's it.
I know the lady that was training me with Pilates also was certified with it, and she was doing Steven Tyler, teaching Steven Tyler at his residency here, and also Lady Gaga uses it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of celebs, but because their movements on stage, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different movements you can use it to strengthen. Most of the time, it's kind of feminine, the movements, soft, but you can use it. There's different apparatus that you can use for strength. You know, like the arch. There's so many variable movements in it. It's really fantastic. But it's not so popular like Pilates, you know, because I guess the look of it, I don't know.
It's a little odd looking. I had a chance to buy one. There was a studio that went out here, and they were selling them, you know, used ones. But it was definitely not something I could figure out myself. But it is odd looking.
Yeah. It doesn't look as dynamic just from looking at it. It probably looks just strange. Where Pilates, it looks more, you know, something that people can wrap their head around. It looks like strengthening through movement. Yeah, but it is fantastic. I mean, I'd say get into it if you're interested. Mojo, if you're interested in gyrotonic, most guys look at it and go, no, not for me. Too much hip movement.
Dude, it's all about fucking loosening up them hips, man. If you don't work on those stabilizer muscles, you're in trouble when you get older. If you don't work on them stabilizer muscles, that's how like an old person they're in declining health, and then they lean the wrong way, they don't have the right stabilizer muscles, they fall down, they break a leg, break a hip, and then boom, it's accelerated downhill from them. So yeah, you definitely work on that.
Yeah, the thing about gyrotonics is all the movement that you're doing with a decompressed spine. So you basically start with something called narrowing. And narrowing is a soft decompression of your spine. So as you breathe in, you're decompressing the spine, and then you begin these movements that are like snake-like. You're back and forth. The hips are moving, and then you go in a circle. You got to see it, though. I can't explain it really, you know, until you see it.
I just did a Kundalini class today.
Who said? Oh, you did?
Yeah.
How did it go?
Good. It was in Malibu, and a lot of chanting and core muscle exercising.
Did you do the breath work, right?
Yeah.
How'd you find that?
Well, I meditate now. I meditate at home because I know the teacher, but it's okay.
What did you discover meditating?
That I'm really fucked up and I need to do a lot more of it.
Yeah. Everybody does. Everybody. Get your pal Mojo into it. Mojo, get that cigar out your mouth. Do some meditating. He probably said, it's against my religion.
Bro, listen, the meditating thing is crazy. Like, I try. The first thing is, like, they want you to sit in this uncomfortable position.
No. Nobody wants it. That's some strange place you went to.
Dude, even when you watch these fucking videos on YouTube, it's like you first gotta cross your goddamn legs and sit Indian style, and like that alone is like, okay, I'm not comfortable, and so all I'm thinking of is like, can I just get in a more comfortable position? Like, that's all.
No, you don't have to sit. That's some rigid technique. You can sit in a chair. You can meditate with an erect spine. Yeah. Just close your eyes and drift off. And Dr. Joe Dispenza's really great with that. But there's so many different. You just find what resonates with you, and just take some deep breaths, bring the brainwave patterns down, and go on a trip. You can even look. Have you looked at Kaleidoscope?
No.
Oh, that's fascinating. Gets you into a trance state. It's amazing.
Can you do that playing video?
Oh, that's another story on video games. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the Kaleidoscope has all the geometric shapes, right? You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Sorry, I'm actually doing something. Give me like 2.
Go for it. Has everybody?
What were you asking, Mac? What were you asking?
I said, have you ever watched the Kaleidoscope?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Yeah, if you go to YouTube, you'll see all this. It's beautiful. It's all these geometric shapes that there's a point in the center, and it's going back and forth. I think Wallace in the audience, he's looked at it. But I wouldn't necessarily get too deep on it online. There is a company that Dr. Joe Dispenza used to collaborate with, and because you can have bad actors create a kaleidoscope online that is not healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to look at anything that's going to put you in a trance state that has some subliminal messages that are creepy.
100%.
Yeah. So, but I forgot the name of the company, but they create some. You just go on a trip. It's really something, Another thing that's hard to explain without you seeing it. It's really something else. Well, it's very colorful. In fact, Dispenza had a retreat I went to, and he put the compound DMT in the kaleidoscope, and I had a response from it, like not full out like doing ayahuasca. You know what ayahuasca is, yeah? You know what ayahuasca is?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So it was like that's the compound he had in the kaleidoscope, and I actually got to experience it, but not full out, because it's a natural occurring chemical. It's in your body, so you can awaken it in the body.
It's like Kundalini rising, except not a food.
That's right. Yeah, I haven't fully experienced the Kundalini yet. It might have something to do with the injuries I've had, because I had an S-curve in between my shoulder blades, and you have to milk the spine. You have to kind of squeeze it, and it was hard for me.
Have you had a lot of surgeries?
No. I don't do any surgery on that. Knee and hip business, bad, but anything that messes with the spine, you just don't want to do that. That's.
Oh, I see.
That's like flipping a coin. Yeah.
Yeah, Sergi, you're doing better though, right?
Oh yeah. The meditation's helped a lot. Yeah, it's good. You have a good memory. Haven't been around the app for a long time.
Well, I knew you were you were dealing with your back, but
yeah.
I'm afraid of like even my back, just injuring.
What up, man? Yeah, it wasn't like it was a mudslide either, right?
Accessible. And like when I mean that was like the best steak I ever had, man, on my little.
wow.
And by the way, Edward, you'd be surprised that all the snake places that I found in Tokyo, I found halal ones. They have halal snake places. You wouldn't think so. Edward left.
But yeah, but Mazi, I'm not gonna lie, I was actually surprised about Japan in that perspective, man. They have a lot of kosher and halal restaurants out there, and I was
way more than I expected. Way more.
Facts, and they have and they also have a huge Latin culture out there. It's crazy.
Chucky, do you know why they have a lot of kosher?
Oh, that's so true. Yeah, Japanese is really.
It's because Japan was buddy with the Nazi.
Oh, for real?
Wait, was it not?
I don't know.
Yeah, Japan was buddy with the Nazi.
I never.
Oh yeah, they were.
But
that's why they dropped the bombs on.
Oh yeah, I had when I was in we went to, and it was funny though, like, so outside of Yokohama, after you leave where I was at, man, we had went to Chinatown out there, and I'm walking down the street and I hear salsa music playing. I'm like, yo, like, I gotta go see that. I was like, I thought I was tripping, and I'm like, yo, all my colleagues, they wanted to go to the little other spot, right? And I was like, nah, I don't know where y'all going, but I'm going there. Here, man, I hear music from my home. Let me go in there. So I go in there, and there was a Japanese crew singing salsa music in English, and then they'll do their next set in Japanese.
No, Chucky, let me tell you something. The Japanese are very good at taking like